Check 1 2 3 4 1 2 3 4. Looks like we're live. Hey everybody! First and foremost, hope you are healthy and hanging in there, sheltering in place, staying put. As am I. As are most of us. It seems to be working. And today, episode 2 of Refuge in Practice. I am very excited to talk to Andrew Marshall of Billie Eilish. Um, he and I met in fall of 2018, and we're going to talk about that a little bit. But without further ado, I'd like to bring him on right now. Ladies and gentlemen, Andrew Marshall.
Hey, hey,
What's up, buddy?
what's up?
All right, I'm not going to compete with that last lick. Ben, how are you doing?
I'm good, man. Hanging in, just trying to stay sane and practice and stay healthy.
Right. We don't need to pretend, though. You and I have been talking a lot lately, right?
It's true. It's
This is
true.
what we do. You reach out to people when you have idle time, idle hands, and normally, obviously, you would be on the road. You'd be on tour right now, wouldn't you?
That's right. Yeah, we got 3 shows into a North American tour, and then they pulled the plug and postponed it. So um,
Crazy.
that was, I guess about 2.5 weeks ago now, and that tour would have gone till mid-April, and then there were some other legs happening. So everything's
Amazing.
obviously on hold right now.
Well, and it's a good thing you didn't just come out with a record. Obviously, you've been working it
Yes,
for a while.
yes,
I
yes.
met you in December of 2018 uh, at a
Yeah,
radio show, right? Holiday radio show. Did we play two? One in Seattle or San Francisco and another in San Diego? Does that
I
sound about
think
right?
I think we did. Well, there was one in LA, the Acoustic Christmas, K Rock, I think, at the Forum, and then I think there's a San Diego one, yeah, for
Yeah,
that December radio
right.
week of festivities.
That's where bands have to go out and pay their dues and
That's
say
right.
thank yous for radio stations playing our records. I just remember, uh, I think we were later in the night and you guys were a little bit earlier in the day because the actual fire had not. I mean, it had started, but it hadn't really gone nuts. And I remember seeing Billy on stage and thinking, well, everyone's here to see her tonight. That's totally cool. We'll just do our job and head to the next stop.
Oh
Anyway, man,
man,
look, I have a ton of respect for you, and it must have been a wild ride getting to even where you're at today. But not here so much
thank you.
to talk about the gig as much as I want to know more about you as a drummer and what you work on. And, I want to talk about what I work on. And some of this is just to see what's relevant. I bounce ideas off of other players to say, what do you think? I'm working on this. And oftentimes I'm met with a, no, that doesn't seem like it would work for me at all. And sometimes it's like, that's a great idea. Thanks for sharing. So,
Yeah,
um, I kind of want to get right into it though, because we have a limited amount of time. You have a pad with you, right?
let's do it. I do.
Okay. So I learned not that long ago that Andrew and I are both we share a love of rudiments. You have a little bit of a past, right, in rudimental drumming or drum corps. Or,
Yeah, I marched college drumline at Northwestern for a year, just a year, my senior year. Um, but before that, I was playing jazz and playing traditional grip and like learning a bunch of marching snare solos and stuff. So, um, one of my teachers in early on in middle school and high school, Jason Devlin, he taught me how to read and like got me into all kinds of hand techniques. So like he really gave me a foundation in that sort of stuff.
well, that's amazing. I it's it's pretty rare to meet a drum set guy in a band these days, guy or gal that's actually has a rudimental background. But I think it makes for a great foundation. So you still warm up on a pad like pre-show? Like, are there
Mhm.
specific things that you run through? Like, I don't know. Is there like go-to rudiments for you?
Um, that's an interesting question. I actually recently I got a double kick pad with a practice pad like backstage, so I can warm up like both my hands and feet, and I
Hmm.
kind of just do like singles between the hands and the feet. You know, like if you can hear that, my feet
I
tapping on
can.
the
No, I
floor.
could totally hear that. I think
Ah,
everybody
cool,
can.
cool.
I don't even want to
Um,
try that. That sounds hard. No.
yeah, I mean it's nice. You know, it works really well. It gets your like feet warmed up.
So
Yeah.
here's a question. So I noticed you're a match player behind the kit, like for the show. I've been
Mm-hmm.
playing match behind the kit again. I took the last album cycle and dedicated it to playing traditional grip just to challenge myself. Um, and it went fine, but I switched back over to match because I have 30 years of playing match. But
Mm-hmm.
so I warm up often backstage traditional grip just because I'm in a habit of that sort of vocabulary. Do you
Right.
do the same thing?
Yeah, that's an interesting thing because like, you know, when I'm like when I go to play a snare drum or just a pad, I feel like that, yeah, like that vocabulary is gonna come out, like that sort of rudimental thing, which for me has always been in the traditional grip
That's
format.
funny. I swear, everybody, we did not rehearse this, but I say the exact same thing all the time. There's a certain vocabulary, like just the way that I used to play things. So,
Right.
um, can I can I run you through one of the warm ups I do, just so we can
Please.
both give it a shot? We're not going
Definitely.
to be able to play together, everybody, because obviously there's a little latency heading up to the satellite, steering clear of the sky train or whatever's going through the sky right now, and coming back down. But this is something I often use to warm up. It's a singles, a measure of singles, a measure of doubles, measure of diddles, a measure of doubles, a measure of singles. But it starts with one E and a two E and a three E and a four E and a. The and a four is a diddle or the two rights. One E and a two E and a three E and a four E and a. And then from there it switches to the left lead and you do the same length of time but with doubles. One E and a two E and a three E and a four E and a.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And then the third group starts diddles, but with the left lead. One diddle, two diddle, three diddle, four diddle, and then back to doubles. One E and a two E and a three E and a four E and a. And that leads you to left hand beginning the whole exercise. Let me
Oh,
run through
cool.
it one more time, and then I want you to give it a shot, and um, want you to
Cool.
think about it around the kit. Anyway,
Yeah.
it's like this: two, three, four. One E, two, three, four diddle doubles. Two, three, four. One diddle, two diddle, three diddle, four diddle doubles. Two, three, four. Left lead stops on beat one. Can you
Cool.
give it a shot?
Yeah.
If you
Try
can't
it.
do it, that's okay. I bet you can.
We'll see.
Almost after the diddles in the middle.
Mm-hmm.
It's one. It'll start with the left lead. One diddle, two diddle, three diddle, four diddle doubles. Back to
Ah.
doubles. Try that real slow. Start from the diddle section, left lead.
So singles, diddles, doubles, singles,
Singles, diddles, doubles, diddles.
diddles. Okay.
Singles. Sorry, singles, doubles, diddles, doubles.
Singles, doubles, diddles, doubles.
Yep.
From the double section, left hand lead.
Yes.
Yeah.
Perfect. Perfect. So just to
Cool.
show you, I'll run through the whole exercise, and then I'm gonna, in exchange, I'm gonna want one of your warm ups here.
Okay.
So here's what it sounds like, whole thing together. Two, three, four. Singles, two, three, four. Diddle doubles. Two, three, four. One diddle, two diddle, three diddle, four diddle doubles. Two, three, four. Back to singles. Two, three, four. Diddle doubles. Two, three, four. One diddle, two diddle, three diddle, four. Back to doubles. Two, three, four, one. And that's back to the beginning of the exercise.
Cool. Cool.
Um, you don't need to do the whole thing. This is the trade portion of
Yeah.
this refuge and practice. One of the things I find refuge in is practicing this. And the faster you go, I'll just say that you can transition between fingers for the singles, to more of like a rebound for the doubles
Mhm.
to pure motions or molar method for the diddle section.
Right.
But we can
Cool.
revisit another time. It's also really great behind the kit, keeping time with your feet or playing it between two drums. So that's an example. One of the warm ups I do behind the kit. So what is one of your warm ups you do backstage besides the singles that's more rudimental based?
Yeah, it's funny. I always go back to this one, and it's so simple. And it's like, it was in that movie Drumline. That's it. That's the thing.
Is it just singles, no alternating?
It's singles and doubles, like
Right,
always
but it's all right hand lead.
right hand lead, and you could do left hand lead too. Yeah,
Right.
yeah. I'm trying to get up to being able to do it with my feet, but I'm not there yet.
You want to try it right now or not yet?
With my feet.
Yeah. Come on, this is
No.
part of being humble for people.
That's true. That's true.
Okay. Um, do you want to do that or do you not want to do that?
I don't think so. I don't think I have it yet.
That's all right. No big deal. All right. Let's move on to actual drum sets. Oh, quick myth buster. These are my pad sticks. I use them all the time. These are Ralph Hardamon, but they're Ralph Hardamon Jr., Ralphie Jr.'s. You ever use these?
Oh, cool.
You ever
I
use
think
these?
I picked them up once or twice. Yeah. They're
I
like
think that
like marching sticks, right?
Yep. And I
Yep.
think that, but they're a little bit smaller. They're more like a 3A or something like that. They're much more balanced. They're not like transitioning from like playing baseball bats to your drum set sticks.
Right.
But the only other guy I think I knew that I found that uses these, maybe Mark Giuliana. We're always sending pics back and forth of like,
Oh,
look
cool.
at my Ralphie Juniors.
Hell yeah.
All right, I
Yeah.
want to talk about some kit stuff and independence exercises because time
Cool.
is going to fly. We only have so much. So behind the drum set, obviously you warm up for a show. You've got rudiments together. You've got your hands loose and warmed up. But you and I, especially you don't have to play a whole lot of that stuff for the show. What you play is very supportive,
Mm-hmm.
simple, you know, songwriting type drumming, and you're playing with electronics a lot of the time. So um, that's a lot to listen to. You got to dial in. You got to play nice with triggers.
Yeah.
Not everybody gets to play live with playback and triggers and how that affects time and feel and everything. It could be really crazy, right?
Yeah. Very. Um, there's so many considerations that go into it. Like pads, like a sample just does not feel or sound like a drum. It's not supposed to. Like most of the time, it's not a drum. You know, it's like a cowbell or like a door slamming or an explosion or whatever. And it's like at 100% velocity. Like you tap it and it's huge, and so.
And for people that don't know that term velocity, on
Mm,
sampling pads or samplers, it's not like a drum where if you tap it light, you barely hear it, and if you hit it hard, it gets louder. Like no matter what, like what Andrew's talking about is it can explode. So your body's not always ready for that kind of reaction. Right? Isn't that kind of what you're saying?
yeah, totally. And I mean, you just have to know. I mean, I dial in like everything the way I want it to, but most of the time, everything has to be maximum volume. Like there's no
Right.
dynamic response. So yeah, it's just a question of like getting used to how those things feel, and also like making sure that your time is super rock solid, because like they're just a lot less forgiving than drums. Like if you hit it massive 808, like a little behind, it kind of throws the whole groove. You know what I mean? Whereas
I bet.
with a kick drum, I mean, obviously like your time has to be great, but like I feel that they're a little more forgiving in that way.
When I saw the last show I saw you playing, which I think was in Philadelphia, I was really surprised how quiet your stage was
Mm-hmm.
compared to like some stages, and it seemed like it left a lot of room for your dynamics. Which sometimes, if you're on a stage with 5 other people and everybody's slamming with loud in-ear mixes, it can strip some of the life out of a performance. So I was really impressed that you had such great dynamics.
Oh, thank you. Yeah.
Is there any exercises that you work on? I have some that I do that help my independence and help my timekeeping, which is, as you said, like a paramount thing, especially if you have any kind of playback going. I talked last week about singing time or singing the parts while I was playing them
Yeah.
as an exercise, but there are super deep, heady exercises that have been developed over time that might not seem like they're applicable to, you know, supporting a song, but I do think that they work their way into your playing and make us all better drummers. You've
Oh
been
yeah,
working out of a book called The New Breed.
that's right.
Are there any examples out of The New Breed that you could play for us that's sort of in that vein?
Sure. Yeah. There's so basically like for those people that don't know, the New Breed um, is a book where there's a bunch of ostinatos, like repeating patterns, called systems, and those are generally with three of your limbs, and then you read a page with your other limb, and normally it's the two hands and the left foot that are doing the system, and then you read the page with your kick drum. Obviously, you can rotate those in all the permutations, but the system that I'm on now is this. It's like it's funny. This book, you generally do it really slow, or it's like I've tried to do it really slow just to like develop that kind of time. And so after like 2 months of going through it again, I went through it in high school. I'm on like system number three. But this is the system. Pretending that this rim is actually a hi-hat because Gary Chester
He's
did this
got
thing.
three hi
The
hats,
three
right, in the book.
hi-hats. Right.
Yeah, this folks, this is insane. It's really good for you, but it's so. Do you have to sing any of those parts?
Yeah, so the way I do it is do each page 3 times. First time, sing the snare. Second
Hmm.
time, sing the off beats, the ands.
Hmm.
And then third time, sing the kick drum part.
All right.
So, yeah, I mean, just like 5-way independence, like it locks in your time, locks in your independence, coordination. Playing really slow is always great with a click. It's just awesome.
Totally agreed. And this is the kind of stuff that most people don't want to do and glaze over. And like I used to, in terms of playing these kind of independence exercises, 5 ways you would put it. That's 1, 2, 3 with the four limbs, fifth being the voice.
Mm-hmm.
Um, it used to make me want to take a nap.
Yeah.
But if people don't have the New Breed, or if they're not going to go out and get it, or if they want to try something that's a little more applicable or something in the wheelhouse, I wanted to talk about that for people that are just at home with the practice kit right now and can't like dive really deep into some of the systems that are mapped out in a book like that.
Right.
Will you let's go back and forth and do an exercise, and it shouldn't be too far out of the range of what you've already done in the in with the New Breed book.
Cool.
I want to keep time and play a dotted eighth pattern on the bass drum. And for people that don't know exactly what that is, I'll play it right now. Can you do that?
Mm-hmm. I think so.
I'm sure you can. No eighth notes. Cool. All right. So is this on? Yeah. Okay. So now the next step for people, maybe if you have a pattern like that, is to then begin to sing your limbs. So let's sing the biggest and most obvious one, which is the bass drum. So let's try and go like this. Can you do that?
Cool.
Awesome. That's great. So what would be your next step if you wanted to advance this groove? Just curious. I could tell you what I would do, but if you were going to spice the thing up a little bit and make it a little more challenging for your independence, what would you change?
I think I would go through and sing the different parts. Before, are you talking about like changing something in the playing or changing the singing?
I meant like changing the exercise. So yeah,
Yeah.
singing all the parts would be a very obvious progression for me.
Yeah.
And I would I would go bass drum, snare drum, hi-hat, or something like that, or sing straight time. Let's both do it. I'll give it a shot, and then you give it a shot. Well, basically, I want to go until we can't do it.
Yeah, yeah.
Because this is the kind of practice that I like to do, is like finding things that are like a total dead stop, like, whoa, weak link, can't do this. This is clearly what I need to work on.
Yeah,
and it's
totally.
best to start with things that are familiar to any player, and then see how far you can stretch it. All right, let me give it a shot and try and sing the 3 voicings.
Yeah.
All right, I had a rough start. But I made it through. You give it a shot.
All right.
That was the perfect example of somebody working on a weak link. And it wasn't a weak link. You're on the spot. You're playing live in front of everybody. I mean, I had a hiccup too, but I watched you smile, and you persevered, and you played it long enough, even though it wasn't the same phrasing as you intended to play. You got it figured out, and you got it figured out quick. Okay, I'm going to take it a step further. Let's play eighth notes, but let's play accents on the downbeats. Okay.
Okay.
So I could do this. I know I can. I'm going to watch you do it. Put you on the spot. I'll do the next one.
Yeah.
So in other words, all right, give that a shot, and sing all your parts.
All right. I'm gonna play the groove, and then I'm gonna sing the parts.
Okay. Quick cliff note for everybody. That's genius. That's what you need to do. A lot of times people try and jump into playing an exercise before they hear it. And most of the time we can play it better just by hearing it. Singing it is like all right, prove your shot, like.
Right.
So
Totally.
I think that is definitely the right way to do it. And obviously you don't need to start a tempo, but anyway, I'll let you go for it. You play it. When you're ready to sing, start singing.
Cool.
Tough stuff, right?
Yeah, that's a good one.
No, I know, and it's so much easier to do if you don't sing it, right? You could blaze it. You could, like, it's not a problem to play it faster. If you turn the accents around, it's a little harder. But we're gonna make it even harder, just for fun, and try and lose some of the people out there who are already shaking their heads saying I could do that. Same kick pattern, same backbeat emphasis. Gonna bring it to traditional grip, because I haven't seen that enough behind the kit yet from you.
Yeah.
I want you to play paradiddles. Okay, accenting the quarters if those are 16th notes, or the 1 and. All right, and if you completely fall on your face, I don't feel bad for you. We're going to chip away at it. If you don't and you play it straight through, then we're going to completely change gears. This is like Ellen's Game of Games or something, where if you pass this level, you're just going to go straight to the big 30-foot drop win.
Yeah. All right.
You nailed it. And for people out there that want to make something like that more advanced, sing your parts. And when I say
Mm.
sing your parts, I don't mean just sing the bass drum. That's easy enough. Sing just the right hand part and sing just the left hand part. So you're going. That's hard.
That's
Um,
hard.
or
Yeah.
sing just the left hand part. And again, it's like I know that there are probably the singers in our bands that are like bored and yawning and be like, "What are you guys doing? Like that stuff is so nerdy, it's not worth anything." But it really is. Like being able to dial in your playing like that, like to commit to know what your parts are doing is really tricky. So,
Oh yeah. Hey man, I
um,
mean, I'm a proud nerd. It's like, we work on these things so that we can deliver like an emotional, a feeling. It's not like, we get on stage and like try to show the artist our paradiddles and stuff, but if the groove feels good and we have our time together, they'll feel something. So
yeah,
that's what it's all about. Just like
absolutely.
the
And
building blocks.
I think that if you can like thematically in your brain map out this whole fractal system of rhythmic possibilities, when you're just playing really simple time, it's a whole lot funner and it just grooves that much harder.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, totally.
uh, we're getting a bunch of questions. Can you see the same questions as well?
I can, yeah. I see the comment section.
I'll address one right away, which is two drum set jam. We can't do that, folks. Everything I play has to go way high in the sky, bounce off a satellite, come down and hit Andrew, and he's supposed to play the same time I am. That doesn't work. So we can't. Unfortunately, the technology is there. We cannot do a two drum set jam.
Yeah.
Um,
We did kind
but
of try though at one point, I think.
we did, and it sounds really, really crazy. It's
Yeah.
all over the place. We're not very good. We would not make our auditions. um,
Maybe like free jazz kind of audition.
how
Postmodern music.
how are you guys doing this? I want to jam online with my buddies too, but the lag is ridiculous. Well, we just answered that question, Dennis. I'm sorry, there is no way to do it. You got to send tracks back and forth.
Hmm.
Um,
Somebody says
do you
what
see
size
any
snare?
questions? You can scroll through. Is there anything you want to answer that you see in there?
Yeah, somebody says what size snare are you playing? This is 14 by 6.5 aluminum Gretsch USA Custom. This is the snare that I use with Billy actually, my main snare. I have two snares on that kit. One is like a wood, 14 by 6.5, and this is the aluminum. This is the main snare. It's killer. Love this
Yeah, I
drum.
used the aluminum for a while too. It is a great drum.
Yeah,
I moved to a brass, but um,
cool.
let me ask you this: how much is what you feel and play on stage? How different is that than what happens in front of house? In other words, sometimes I get asked to tune my drums differently
Mm-hmm.
for the better of the room and the front of house mix, and I've kind of found a place in the middle where um, I'm satisfied with how my drums feel, and
Yeah.
front of house engineer is satisfied with how things work. Do you ever have that battle?
Yeah, definitely. I've actually, like on many occasions, listened back to a front of house recording and been like, wow. Not that it's like my drums sound bad or something, but they just sound really different from what I thought. Like I tend to tune really low. Like I like to just like drop every drum, every tom especially as low as they can go, just for as much low end as possible. But then out front they tend to sound kind of flabby. Like toms work better higher. So that's one thing. Like I think live I tune higher than I normally would, especially in the studio. Like these drums are way lower than I would tune them live.
Yeah, really. I
Hmm.
tend to, yeah, it's funny how rooms work like that. Not everyone is in a big room all the time, but I've noticed that too. Like the higher I tune, the more they kind of sit at a lower register.
Right. I mean, snares too, like the detuned snare thing. For me, like when I get it to a place where it feels good, where I'm sitting on top of it, it's usually too flabby out front. That's what I found.
Yeah, I feel you on that one. Not everyone knows and has to think about this stuff, and we don't have to think about this for a long time, unfortunately. I wish we
That
were back
is
out on the road, but this is
that
what
is
we're
true.
doing. And
Yeah.
a lot of you that don't know, just to be able to do what we're doing right now, there's a lot of technical work just to be able to get things across as best as we could to you all who are listening. So uh, I would say that Andrew and I are real practicers, but we don't spend nearly as much time behind the drums as we do sitting in front of computers and trying to figure out routing and recording and engineering and
Yeah.
right? Am I wrong?
Oh yeah. Everything takes way longer than you think it will. I mean, it's just a fact of life. I was saying the other day, like, I feel like I just spend all my time troubleshooting, just all the time. Like, there's just gremlins everywhere, and I mean, I welcome it because like every time something happens, something goes wrong, like you fix it, you learn something, and like all of that knowledge is only going to help you later. Whether it's like when I was first getting into electronics, like in college, I didn't know what I was going to use it for. Like I didn't know what the end game was, but it's definitely helped me in like tons of different ways beyond just like gigs, just
Right.
having like a knowledge of technology, So, um, all the missteps were painful in the moment, but helpful later.
That's what this business is. Several missteps
Yeah,
all the time.
yeah,
Let me ask you a question about effects. You were talking about when we were working on getting this thing set up, like being able to route different effects. Do you play with any effects live? Like as an example, you and I played with this a little bit the other day. Um, I'm going to take a delay from my drum send here
yeah.
just to show people what I'm talking about. But you hear that okay?
Mm-hmm.
Delays coming through?
Yeah.
Do you ever set up effects that, especially delays and reverbs, that like inspire you to make you play differently?
Mostly in the studio. I haven't really played with that kind of stuff live. I mean, of course, like our, monitor engineer and front of house engineer are processing the drums in all kinds of ways.
Do you
But
hear that though? Do you get that in your mix?
um, it, yeah, from monitors, but like, it's all sort of to get a normal sounding drum sound, not like overtly insane, like delays and crazy reverbs and things like that. But in the studio, I mean, I love it. Like put insane amounts of reverb or on the overheads or like, delays on the snare. And actually, when I was preparing for our most recent tour, I basically gave myself a mix in the studio that was comparable to playing in like the size rooms that we were going to play on the tour, which would not be a normal in-ear mix at all.
Right.
Like, like very compressed, tons of verb, just to like fake like a big room sound, you know. So it was really fun and like really helpful to like, because you play differently when when you're hearing like tons of compression or tons of verb, like you're hearing the drums reverberate in a room. You're gonna probably play less notes because the reverb tails are so long. You know what I mean? So,
Right.
um,
No,
yeah,
you're very right. I mean, I remember as a kid seeing bands in arenas and ghost notes, and none of it made sense. I couldn't tell what was happening at all.
yeah,
You
yeah,
know,
totally.
so I mean, that's definitely like a lesson for a lot of people to just think about as you're writing and composing your parts. Speaking
Hmm.
of parts, do you have a favorite drum part that you're currently touring, or anything from the catalog that you wanted to play for people?
Yeah, for sure.
I know you
Um,
don't have all your bags of tricks with you. It's not your touring kit, but
no, yeah, but there's definitely some drum set grooves. This tune is called "All the Good Girls Go to Hell," and it's this like really nice bouncy kind of funk groove, just like this.
sounds sick. just you.
Thanks.
I could hear you just sitting in that pocket. Like, I mean, I've seen that, but
Yeah.
it's all you really need. And obviously, that has nothing to do with independence. Anything we talked about, any of the drum chord chops, any of the jazz chops, like any of the solos you had to take when you're in college, like
Right.
right. But it's exactly it proves that you are a supportive drummer, like
Oh, thanks.
which is why you have a good gig. You know.
Thank you very much.
Um,
Yeah.
Somebody asked me about that a groove last week. I thought I'd play it today. Uh, I've broken it down a few other places, but maybe people haven't seen in a while. But one of my favorite grooves to play is the song "Calf," which is not a typical drum part, not like a standard backbeat. The root of it did. I'll come clean here. The root of it came from an idea that Ben had played drums. Ben is a great drummer. He's a very thoughtful player in terms of coming up with parts that support what he's saying, how things are framed, what his guitar parts are. And he and I, throughout the history of my being in the band since 2002, um, we always go back and forth. He often will be like, how about this? And I'll be like, yeah, cool, but how about this? And he'll say, how about this? We just go back and forth. And I
Mm.
think that it's fair to say we kind of arrived at this one together. But here's an example of Calf, because not everyone gets to see it live, but it's a little outside the box, but it's also very simple. Oh, you guys don't want delay. That's no good, right? That wouldn't work. Take the delay off. That would freak everybody out.
I always dig a little delay.
You would? All right. Well,
No,
we're
I
gonna do
mean,
it without delay to
yeah, yeah,
start.
yeah, yeah.
But
Man, so
it's
awesome.
it's meant for a big room, right? Just like
Right,
the simplicity of what you were doing was meant for a big room.
right,
So
right.
I don't think that 90% of the shit that I practice on a pad, or like I do this thing on the hi hat where I keep triplets with one hand. I'm still working on it, but it's useless. It has nothing to do with like playing. It's like, so what? When I worked in music stores, I remember doing that for somebody for playing the whole push pull reverse technique thing,
Mm-hmm,
and
mm-hmm.
this guy in a touring band came in. He's like, "Can you use it? So what?" like, and
Right.
I think that's so true. That doesn't mean I don't want to keep working on it. It doesn't mean that like it doesn't. It helps me investigate technique in general, but it
Yep.
really has to be placed appropriately. There's only a handful of songs in our catalog where I get to employ some of the rudimental sticking stuff that I work on, and I've seen the same in your playing, and I want to
Mm.
applaud you for the fact that you enjoy playing simple beats that support your songs.
Oh yeah. I mean, thank you. And funnily enough, I have seen you play that groove in a big room, the Hollywood Bowl. So
And
it's
it
like
works. It works big and muscular like that, right?
right, right. Um,
Um,
I was gonna say in response to that. I don't remember where I heard this analogy, but I did not make it up. But I heard once that like the idea of like if you have to drive down the street at 20 miles an hour, you can do it in a Camry, but if you're in a Ferrari, it's going to be a lot smoother and a lot more comfortable, you know? And that's kind of like what all this stuff is. Like anything you play or have to play on a gig, like you want to be able to do it in your sleep, like and not only that, but just have it be so comfortable and like be able to like have a conversation while doing it or like sing parts or whatever cuz like, you know, I'm not a car guy, but like you just want to like radiate comfortable, like you want the artist to be comfortable, you want the crew to be comfortable. It's like no problem. So I think like the more you have together, once you get on a gig and you're in front of more people than you've ever played in front of before, you're playing on TV or whatever it is, or you're playing new music or something, like you don't have to worry about like, oh, it's like, am I gonna be able to, do this thing, or like, will I have the right touch on the ride or
Yeah.
whatever. Anyway, that's my 2 cents about it.
I totally agree. I've
Yeah.
always been impressed by seeing any musician or singer or artist play or perform with a level of headroom. You could just tell.
Right.
It's the whole effortless thing.
Right.
Somebody asked me a question: what size hi-hats am I using? I'm using 15-inch, and yes, somebody got it right. They're 15-inch Caropes. I'm using Zildjian Caropes all around the kit, and these are Gretsch Brooklyns and a Brooklyn Standard snare drum. And I think you are using the same thing except for snare drum, right? Are you using Gretsch Brooklyns?
These are broadcasters, actually.
Ah,
Yeah, these are, just got these like a week ago. My new broadcasters.
nice. They sound really good. I'm
Thanks.
jealous that your drum sound streaming right now sounds a little bit like you're on a King Cruel record, or for the super audio nerds out there, it's got a very Chad Blake vibe going on.
Yeah.
It's inspiring to hear.
Man.
Did you see any other
Likewise.
questions? You can scroll through if there's anything you see that that pops up that you would like to answer. Go for it.
Let's see here. I only opened the questions part like a little bit into it, so I don't know if I saw it earlier.
Somebody asked, like, why are we speaking so quietly? We're not. The problem is that you can't. To get the right level of vocal and the right level of drums, something has to give in this particular setup and scenario for us. So we're doing the best we can.
Yes. Yes. I see one. Best advice for nailing feel and time live, not rushing or dragging against the click and tracks. That's an interesting question.
Best advice?
Yeah.
My best advice is don't overthink it.
Yeah.
Like I think you and I even had a conversation about this at one point in time, just when we were shooting the breeze, about people can hear you thinking behind the kit. People can hear when you're hesitant. People can hear when you're confident. And I'll never forget a bandmate of mine saying one time, we were playing Conan O'Brien, playing a late night TV show, and the sampler had failed. It had crashed, like in the sound check.
Oh no.
And
oh man.
I remember my bandmate saying after the line check, he said, I can feel you. I can feel that you're afraid of the sampler crashing. I can hear it in your time, And that was like super great advice. I mean, I was going to say super sound advice, no pun intended, but it really was. And I think that the more we're distracted, it's like if you're having a conversation with someone and you look off to the side, it's not very convincing that you're paying attention. And so my best advice for someone that's trying to play with the click, well, one, do it a lot, like practice the click. You need to play with the click till the click disappears.
Yep.
I would forget about like the playing ahead, playing behind, and just worry about playing with the click initially. If you're good enough, you can follow the legend and the myth of the studio greats that can play slightly behind or slightly ahead of the beat, but that seems to be more of just a natural way that people fall. But again, the more you think about it and the more you're worried about not following time, the more it's going to be audible to everyone else around you. And the way to better your time is the way that we already talked about it, which is playing sometimes difficult or independent exercises and singing all your limbs while playing a click. I mean, that's my advice.
Yeah. Yeah, totally. One thing I've run into, it's interesting, is like in times when I'm definitely burying the click, I'll listen back and realize I'm a little ahead or a little behind. Like maybe the tracks have a human feel to them, or they weren't quantized or something, So like that's an interesting thing of like my initial thought is think play ahead or think play behind, and then it's like stop thinking, just play.
Right.
So like I've experimented with like bringing the click down in my ears and trying all kinds of things, but that's something I've dealt with like on the gig for sure.
Yeah, I mean, let there be no illusion. Like, even though Andrew and I both have opportunities to play on big stages in front of a lot of people, and it's a big professional rig, like we still think about a lot of the same thing that someone thinks about the first time they play with a click, or in front of people in general. Like the process of deconstructing all these things to better ourselves is ongoing. You'll be doing it no matter how many gigs or how many people or how many records you sell.
Right. I mean, it's universal concept. It's just a bigger stage, same drums.
Let's see. Could you please show us the grooves for kids of '99? Maybe another episode. I will say this: there's a lot of grooves that I've been asked to demo, and I could do them, but it's tough to demo a song that was recorded when it was captured in a specific environment with a certain set of drums and a certain vibe. Um, so, we're in studios to use them for all of the resources. And what happens live is often different than what happened in the studio because you're going song after song after song and you're doing the best you can. And of course, we have triggers and samples that we can use to help supplement sound, so it sounds more like an album. But there are certain grooves that I had played. Kids of '99 is one of those from the Blue EP. I'll Possess Your Heart is another, where I had played super quiet, like really low volume, with drums that are totally, messed up, or there's like stuff on top of the heads or whatever. So, in the case of Kids of '99, there was like a guitar pedal on there, and it had a really tight sound, and a box that was jumping around on top of the head. So I do have plans to demo all that stuff for everybody, but we don't have the time to do it today. Um,
Yeah.
do you have any other thoughts that you would like to get across in closing before we have to wrap this thing up?
Yeah, just on that, I was gonna say, like, especially I've like with Billy and on other gigs too, but like I've noticed they're so into sounds, like the productions are so specific and the sounds are so important. That's why I play a lot of samples, and that's why drums are tuned a specific way. And sometimes people will ask me also, yeah, to play like certain grooves, and like like this snare is not tuned the way I would play it, and it just sounds like different, and that's kind of not the groove. Like I've just really over the past couple of years gotten really obsessed with tone and sound and timbre, and that's like, I mean, the playing is important, but your tone is the lens that you're playing through. So um, that's a big part of it in studio or live.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
No, I think if I had to choose between being like an expert soundsmith and an expert technician, I would choose sound over technique anytime.
Absolutely, 100%.
Um,
You only need some technique to get it done, but you need tone.
Man, I know. I mean, like, I'm sure some of the most recorded drummers in history weren't some of the most, astonishing technicians. It's just the way they
Definitely
work.
not.
Take a look at Stax and Motown.
Yep.
All of those grooves are very similar, but they feel incredible.
Yeah.
Um, so I'm going to give you one more thing to work on and think about before we cut out of here.
Cool.
For everybody, actually, we're going to take a standard paradiddle, and I want to just talk about exploring the different ways of playing it. So play it without accents, play it with accents, try progressive accents, and try flams. You and I talked about this a little bit before, but
Hmm.
just for people that want to better their hands and think about a warm up before they play it, or especially while they're home, uh, not doing much else.
Yeah.
Um, let's just do this for people so they can hear both of our takes on it.
Yep.
Let's go back and forth. I'll do a version of a paradiddle. You do a version of a paradiddle. This is kind of like, you know, like last man standing type scenario. So
Okay.
here's a paradiddle version for you. Progressive accents. Oh, I'll turn my vocal mic off. Sorry. So give me a different variation of a paradiddle to challenge me.
Um, I'm gonna try to play this. I don't know if I'll be able to, but I'm gonna try it. Backwards paradiddles, reverse paradiddles, right, right, left, right, left. Progressive accents.
Stop.
you know,
That's what this is for.
that would
All
have
right.
been the idea.
Here's another one for people. Progressive accents, but flamming them.
Hmm. Should I just try that one?
What's that? No, you don't have to. What's another paradiddle version of yours?
Oh man, that's a good question. I don't know. You could do progressive accents on double paradiddles. Does that fit the format?
You could totally do that. Give it a shot.
Uh, oh man.
All right, you don't need to do any more than that. Look, all I'm trying to show people is
Refuge in practice.
we are constantly, trying to practice to get better ourselves.
Yeah.
There are some things we rip. Let's end with a rip. Give me one lick around the drums that is a rudiment you don't have to think about, that you worked up to tempo, that you're proud you can play.
Yeah.
I'll give you an example.
Mhm.
6-stroke roll, very simple. A lot of people use it. But every time you hit a single note, you're hitting the toms, right? And a lot of people know this lick, but you're going to end with a diddle, paradiddle. Left, right, left, left. And then it switches to left-hand lead.
Cool. Cool.
So that's like one for people to think about.
That's
So
awesome.
I'm going to close with one of yours.
I've often found myself playing blush does a lot. You know this?
Oh, yeah.
Which like I think I got from Dave Weckl originally, and like I saw like Ralph Peterson do it too. So like. So. I just love that sound.
It's a sick feel too.
Yeah.
It's a great feel. So again, that comes from rudiments. That comes from studying other drummers. Like I'm sure Andrew can't emphasize enough to be sure and listen and study to all the players that you admire and really dissect what they're doing. But also, my advice to everybody is make sure that you don't spend all your time trying to become somebody else. Make sure that you develop who you are and what you do.
Very true.
All right, I wish we had more time. I feel like this is dragging on, and we should probably let people go.
Yeah.
But thank you very much for doing this, and I hope that I could see you back out on the road real soon.
Thanks so much, man, for sure.
Appreciate it. All right.
Yeah.
Thank you, everybody, for your questions. I'm sorry we didn't get to more than we did, but it's tough to do this thing live and keep each other in mind and answer each other's questions and also loop everybody in, but you've been great. Thank you so much. Again, following this will be archived. If you want to check it out at a later date, there will be links posted on both Death Cab, I believe, YouTube and Facebook sites, and I will also make a post about where to find it. Otherwise, the link will be in my bio, and it might be in yours as well. But please, everybody, follow Andrew Marshall Drums, the killer. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And I'll talk to you another day, man. Thanks, everybody.
Right.
Stay healthy. Bye-bye.